The battle against evil rages on!
Gee, and I sure wonder who's part of the reason for that, huh? What's this blood splatter supposed to be? It's true that the killer received an arm injury while making an attempt on the president's life, but not only did that attempt take place days before this current attempt, only one person lost blood during this event, and that was one of the bodyguards while he was inside the plane.
After all, it's not every day an attempt is made on the life of a nation's president.
Ooh boy, only a couple months before this game finally came to the US, Trump had a brush with death before even starting his second term.
You're the prosecutor in charge of this here case, ain't ya?
Hi, you're not annoying him at all. You were summoned on short notice as well?
Sure was. Right in the middle of my day off!
Rude. Is there really no other homicide detectives available?
I can view what information I have with L and then connect them with X.
Why is some of the text in this particular thought white? I must scour the scene and inspect anything that catches my attention. And I must scour the footage and sin every uttering of this line. And yet here we see quite a different picture. One thing in particular stands out, don't you think?
Right, of course. I give up. Come on, spill the beans.
This guy's a detective, by the way. I need to know about the shooting. Can you tell me how many gunshots you heard?
Why, I most certainly cannot.
I know, exclusives and all, but this is a serious investigation. An Ace Attorney gimmick with an actual running time limit? What a friggin' concept! Surprisingly, don't return it for future games. With the opening moves concluded, the mid-game approaches. There's only one piece left. I'm pretty sure it's the end game now. Also, why is the last my chess piece always a queen? I know it's the most powerful piece on the board, but isn't it the king you're after? It's true that the king can't be traditionally captured and removed from the board like any other piece, but still.
Just as long as I got my trusty tape recorder, I'll always be ready to nab me a scoop.
One of the options is I'm not interested in your tape recorder? Isn't that like the opposite of what we need to tell her? We're talking about evidence being kept on record, yet one of the options is to do away with that idea. I'm not stupid, you know. Checkmate. Again, it was the queen you eliminated, not the king. Therefore, I'm pretty sure you can't just call checkmate like that. Oh my gosh, am I pointing out flaws in the logic of a prosecutor who's definitely a far better chess player than me?
You play me like a fiddle, Ruffles. Only the chief ever played me so good. So, you gotta agree to be chief number 2, and be mentored to a rising star, aka me.
Mentor for journalism? Just my profession alone should be enough to tell you I have no interest in something so secretive.
The president thrusts his fist into the air as the excitement reaches fever pitch.
But doesn't the president only thrust his fist while talking about hammer of justice? Yet according to Tabby on this tape, he's already doing it while saying the battle against evil. Also, about this chief business, I am nobody's chief. Just give it 7 years, Edgy, don't worry. Your clothes are covered in mud. Allow me to pay for the cleaning, it's the least I can do.
Huh? You mean my jacket? Oh, don't you be worrying your pretty little head about that. It's reversible. All you gotta do is switch it around, and alakazam! No more dirt.
On the outside, perhaps, but you'd still have something of a problem with the inside.
It's called recycling. Fred from Big Hero 6 taught me.
That bag was a real find, huh? Just goes to show, a bag in the hand is worth 2 in the trash.
What?
A good set of fingerprints could really help this investigation along.
Got the results for you, sir.
That was quick.
You bet it was. Told the techs it was ultra super high priority.
But that doesn't mean they were able to check it that quickly, right?
Well, it's just like the chief always says. You gotta treat information as irresponsibly as you can.
Are you sure you didn't just mishear that? Why take such a complicated route? You're already right within the vicinity to meet Edgeworth again.
Honestly, I leave you alone for 2 seconds.
I'm pretty sure that was way longer than 2 seconds. This photo highlights the first contradiction in the game, but it was way too tricky for me to figure out, not by accident, and I blame the evidence for that. I know that sounds strange, but hear me out. The area in question is the red spot on the president's forehead, which doesn't appear in the photo in the newspaper article that talks about his visit to the States. Now, I am aware of birthmarks, and a foreign friend of mine likened it to Asian countries where their people had these sorts of birthmarks, but when I first saw this photograph, birthmark never crossed my mind. That's because I already knew that red spot was the shine of the laser pointer from the gun I found in the trash can. Come to think of it, you're able to talk to the camera crewman first to get Kay's photos before getting the gun from the trash can, but when I first played this game, I actually picked up the gun with the laser pointer first, then got Kay's photos. As a result, I never put together that the red spot on the president's forehead could be perceived as a birthmark, all because I picked up the gun from the trash can before getting this photo, leading me to figure something out too early. But also, even if you did gather the photographs first, Edgeworth says the names Knight and Rook, which doesn't make sense because you only know those names just by getting the security plan. But if you got the security plan second, this makes no sense. Cool, a prosecutor's badge I can examine if I want to. Let's examine the picture from the immediate photo we see when the options come up. Look, all that's important is that the button was ripped from the raincoat, meaning it was taken off in a hurry. That button is kind of pointless in the need to prove it, so do we really have to piece these together? I don't know, man. I feel like it's been more like an hour since Edgeworth arrived at Gourd Lake, not 41 minutes.
I know this man from somewhere. I'm sure of it.
Granted, Edgeworth never really saw Shelley the Killer's face, but he's wearing his name right there on his clothes. He's seen that symbol before. He knows what it is.
I can understand why whoever wore this raincoat would be of interest to you, but you have no proof that this person is injured as you claim.
The fact that we dragged you here says otherwise.
Please, I am just a simple ice cream seller. Oh my.
Dude, the wound opened up on the side opposite where the killer wiped. He should have cleaned up Jack. That ice cream is sweating? Won't be long until it's a liquid. He just crushed that cone in his fist. How is it okay? And then it just spins as it slowly descends into his hand again. Some people's damage animations, man.
I had thought you might find it far-fetched, hence my not mentioning it until now. I know you law enforcement people are very skeptical types. You would never have believed me.
If you know us law enforcement people, you should also know that we'd find out where you're hiding eventually.
No criminal organization, no matter how big, is above the law!
Okay, that's definitely not something we've heard the president say just yet. I thought that animation would never end.
Guy's a pro, a hitman. His name's Shelley the Killer.
The Killer.
What a surprise, said no one who played Justice for All.
I swear I've seen this picture in one of my old files before, but... how could I have been so careless?
Is it seriously any less believable that Edgeworth knew it was the killer but avoided directly confronting him as an assassin at first because he needed to talk to a potential involved party? Why write it so that he genuinely couldn't recognize a distinct face he saw?
Which means he continued to do his duty right up until his dying breath.
At least he'll get posthumously promoted.
Right, and how exactly does a posthumous promotion work?
It's an emergency entrance disguised as an emergency exit. All the president would need to do is lower his rope ladder and make his miraculous escape.
Which would make it an exit, not an entrance. So which is it?
It's an exit, but it's used as an entrance, but disguised as an exit. Yeah, I think.
Congratulations, you've even confused yourself. That's quite the achievement. Just stick to the stepladder. Also covered in case amphibious assaults. I think the word of is missing in that little sentence right there.
I'm just as good as he ever was.
You were a pawn to his queen, my young friend.
But the rook is still a more powerful piece of the knight, so... Great, while we're reading Edgeworth's thoughts, this butt-faced president is still babbling on about presidential stuff. Let's dig a little deeper into the claim that the plane is sovereign territory, shall we? That by itself is not so much a claim as it is a statement of fact. A government plane does have a form of extraterritoriality. There are circumstances to consider with this, of course, but the real contention is about where the crime took place. If it was inside the plane, extraterritoriality does in fact hold.
The right to extraterritoriality cannot be denied. This is Zheng Fa!
Zheng Fa! This is blasphemy! This is madness! One of the options is to basically agree with him, just throw in the towel, like sacrificing a piece of chess for no reason at all. According to you, she shot at you from outside the aircraft, correct? In which case, extraterritoriality could not possibly apply to this case. Your assertion is entirely without merit, and the detainment of Ms. Lloyd cannot be justified!
How could I have...
Wow, this guy went down much easier than the last guy to boast extraterritoriality, and he's the freaking president.
Yes! For without noble acts such as these, blah 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 blah, for unmistakably and irrefutably, for which reason we hereby blah 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 blah, there can be no other outcome. For our goals are lofty and our hearts blah 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 blah. People of Zheng Fa, I swear to you here and now, this investigation will continue.
Holy crap, presidential speeches.
I guess if you look at it in one way, the president is also a victim here.
Hasn't that always been the case, even if we were investigating an attempted assassination? I mean, he's not dead, but he could have been. Could he really have mistaken the Steel Samurai's pants for a plain red balloon? Absolutely. Why is that so hard to believe? Your proof is in this picture right here.
This should be good. Which picture? Where?
To answer which way the flags were blowing when the shot was fired, we had to present Kay's 3 photographs. But what's the point of asking which picture if the game just automatically shows the correct picture for us? buff man turns out to be chubby. Haha!
Objection!
Why does Knight have an objection soundbite? He's just a bodyguard. He doesn't have a career in law.
The flag was billowing in the wind at precisely the right moment. I hit my gun with my attaché case. We changed the security plan because I couldn't turn my head. It's all just speculation, circumstantial evidence at best. You can't prove any of it.
But it's the only logical conclusion. Do you have an alternative?
Yeah.
Did he just fire a bullet at himself in shock?
He may not have been a native of Shangfa, but he was someone I could fully trust.
The fact that he wasn't a Zhangfa native is kind of the reason you were able to trust him more, I thought. In all likelihood, you knew this contradiction because you saw it in one of the trailers for the Investigations collection. I did. Very well. My conclusive evidence is... This is a stupid cheap shot trick question because A, the evidence may not be physically with you, but these games play semantics, and B, it's the freaking tutorial. You can play semantics in the finale, but not at the beginning of the freaking game, dang it. Detective Gumshoe, you didn't do anything strange to the bullet when you recovered it, did you?
Strange like what, sir?
You didn't, step on it or anything?
How could you, sir? How could you even think something like that?
Ah! You didn't need to go full-throated on me, detective! Yes he did. That was quite the claim to make just to find even a tiny problem with the evidence provided.
Don't go making accusations you can't back up. Or did your daddy never teach you that?
Ouch, what a jerk. What about your own weapon? How many spent bullets are in its cylinder?
This old girl here? Well, now. I let loose a few rounds earlier, as you saw.
Yeah, on yourself.
No!
No. He just got hit on the head by multiple blunt objects, including the Thinker, the Yugo piggy bank, and even his own gun. How is he not dead yet? I'm pretty sure it took at least a whole hour to solve the case inside the plane, not a half hour.